Hello and welcome. Ever since he rejoined the BJP, Subramanian Swamy has been one of its most vocal leaders. With his huge social media following, he has savaged the BJP's opponents and popularized its agenda. But today, Dr. Swamy looks inwards. He worries about the economy, which he says is in a tailspin. He discusses the reasons why demonetization failed. He talks about the mess that he says is India's policy towards China. This may be Dr. Swamy's most reflective interview so far. Let me start by talking about the economy. How would you rate the current state of the Indian economy?
See, last May, on 9th May to be exact, I wrote the PM a 16-page letter with statistics from his own departments to show that there are 5 storm signals. And the growth rate, if it's calculated according to what I said to him, what he might have thought it pompous, that there's a Samuelson-Swamy theory of index numbers, which tells you how to calculate the correct index numbers. I said the growth rate is lower than what is being told to you, and that it is going to decline. Now,
this was how many months ago?
May.
May, okay, all right.
Earlier on, I'd been sending him on ad hoc issues, but this one was a comprehensive analysis, and I kept it confidential. I did not publicize it. And I'm saying today that the economy is in a tailspin.
Really? You'll go that far? You used the word tailspin?
Yeah, it can crash. So we need to do a lot of good things and to revive the economy.
When you say in a tailspin, you mean what? We're not going to look at a revival of the rate of growth?
No. You can. Even a tailspin can be made to steady, and depends on the...
But if nothing is done, where are we headed?
We are heading for basically a major depression.
Not even recession, you're using the word depression.
No, depression. There will be mass scale. Banks might collapse, for example. Factories might start closing. That sort of thing. I'm not saying it's that bad.
You're saying it could.
If you don't do anything,
so what should they do?
The same.
So what should they do?
I think right now the most important thing to do is to enthuse the public. There is a deep disappointment because they're piling taxes. Even today, the latest on the petrol thing, and that's not small amount, 8 rupees extra. I think I go to my suggestion that whatever you do, you must see, the public must see immediate change. Not that it's going to filter down. We have done it. You will produce results. I think the first thing we should do is abolish income tax.
Okay. But that's been your policy since the 1970s.
But it was such an easy thing to do, but they have not done it.
Why? What is the argument
I think
for
basically still that socialistic mentality.
No, what's the argument for abolishing income tax, given that every country has it?
Abolishing income tax, first of all, it's immediately felt.
Yes. What about the revenue loss? Because when you first propounded the theory, something like 1% of the government's revenues came from income tax. That figure has since gone up. It's
gone up, but you're getting almost the equivalent amount by auction of 2G spectrum. And that is continuing to 3G spectrum, and the 4G is there to come. Coal has not yet been properly...
so you're saying the other ways?
There are many other ways, and that's how we should move.
Number one, get rid of income tax, which will give a boost to the economy?
It will give a huge boost to the savings rate, because we are basically a saving country. And that would mean the investment cycle will start. Second thing is you must bring down the interest rates to 9%. And raise the fixed deposit interest rate also to 9%.
To encourage savings?
Savings.
Okay.
Okay. That will start the investment cycle. You see, the rate of interest, which is why I had wanted Mr. Raghuram Rajan to be sent out, is an instrument that affects the small and medium industries. The big industries, they can borrow money abroad also. And in the United States, you can borrow for 2%.
Right.
So here, being 12%, 18%, it's very cruel. And much of the damage that has been done by higher interest rates has been to the small and medium industries, which produce bulk of the employment. So the employment cycle must start. And that can only start if you get the small and medium industries moving. That means the cost of capital must come down.
Okay, that's true. Then? Three.
They start with these two. I think that's enough.
You'd also end the black money problem if you didn't
Black
have income
money
tax.
problem,
If you didn't have income tax.
No, if you don't have income tax, there's I think 50% black money goes.
Yeah.
And if you use the UN Convention on Corruption of 2005, you will be able to get at least 80% of the money abroad easily. But we are not using it.
I was going to say that the government talked a lot about bringing black money back to India, but it's remained largely talk, no?
Yes, yes, absolutely, it remains talk. I'm in a petition in the Supreme Court on oversight, and finally the Supreme Court gave up because the committee appointed 2 judges. They have also just they think they have no work, and they have not even given a proper office. They've been given 2 rooms in Ashoka Hotel.
Is that true? They don't have an office?
They don't have an office. Phone them up and say check.
One of the things the government has done, which people said you were in favor of, was demonetization. So were you in favor of demonetization?
I was in favor of demonetization in 2014 when Modi set up a committee called Committee on Strategic something for Elections. So in that paper that we prepared, but we put several conditions. So first is I said that the number of 100 rupee notes must be 6 times what it is today.
Right.
And I said it will take about 2 years. They didn't do that.
No.
Second is I said what you must do is allow people to put these old notes in their own bank account. No questions asked. Government will take away 25%.
Okay.
You will be allowed to take 25%, withdraw 25% as new notes, and the remaining 50% for 5 years in fixed deposit for 2% interest.
Okay.
But that was not done. What was done was something worse. The government was to take away 50%, and that means nobody would give it to the government.
So the scheme flopped as a consequence.
Yes, it was. The demonetization is only the gain we have got, at least the Prime Minister has got, is that he has been perceived as a man who wants to do something. And there are lots of very rich guys who are trying to block him. As in the early stages, Mrs. Gandhi had the same image.
I was about to say, it is for him what bank nationalization was for Mrs. Gandhi. It's a similar thing.
That's right. Or abolishing privy purses.
Exactly. Many people say that the decline in the last 2 quarters in the rate of growth can be ascribed directly to demonetization. Do you accept that?
Not directly. Certainly a contributory factor. Take, for example, all 3 past 3 years, both the imports and exports have declined.
Yeah.
Now, what's that got to do with demonetization? There are so many indicators. The public expenditure, the private expenditure, capital formation, as it's called, that is investment essentially, that has been declining. What's that got to do with?
But that has to do with confidence. The private sector is just not willing to invest.
So these uncertainties, you see, and.
But why? Tell me that. When Mr. Modi was elected, we talked about a reformer prime minister. We talked about a fundamental change in the way economics would be done, where business would be done. We've really got a tinkerer with one demonetization scheme.
No. See, the demonetization scheme could have been definitely something a success. After all, people don't want black money. Even people who have black money are not happy with it. Yeah. So you got to make this country has to be driven by incentives.
So let me summarize. In principle, demonetization was something you favored.
Yes.
The way they implemented it
That's
was not
right.
something you
And I said it from day one. I was in Hong Kong on that day to address a meeting. The South China Post people came, and I told them it was reproduced here in Times of India. And I said that this is going to fail because there's been no preparation.
You are a member of the BJP. You are an economist who's taught at Harvard University.
Yeah.
Yet you have been, on the whole, let's be honest, kept out of the economic policy making in this
I've
government.
been kept out of practically everything. It's not only economic policy.
Explain that. Why does that happen?
Well, you see, from time to time it varies. It had been. I had very good relations when Mr. Narasimha Rao was.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was literally on a daily basis advising him, and he was implementing. I had very good relations with Mr. Chandrasekhar.
You were his commerce minister.
I was not only commerce but law, and I was a senior most minister. And I did all kinds of things which he as a socialist should have normally blenched, but he didn't.
Given this experience and given the fact that you're supposed to be an ideologue, the RSS has supported you, you've been kept out of everything.
I can't explain that. Why should I explain that?
You must
It's
have some
not,
idea.
no.
You must have some idea.
Well, I mean, idea is no use. I don't even think about it because
Really?
my popularity is growing every day. One magazine, which is supposed to be the elite Lutyens magazine, did a poll and then embarrassed found I was number 2 in popularity and they kept me out. They blacked out my name. So that's the
Really?
kind.
Which
I won't tell you.
You're not known for being coy, so you can.
I am being coy today.
That's very unusual.
Sometimes I have to be coy.
Because
I would be letting down the confidential.
Oh, the person who told you. There is a view that the RSS is quite keen on you, but that many elements in the BJP are resisting this. Is this accurate?
Not many. It would be wrong to say many.
So
there's a general perception.
is it just some? Is it just some elements?
Well, some means we mean 0 to 3 or.
I mean 1 actually.
Well, 1 is the worst.
Yeah.
But then I don't think I have found Prime Minister giving any indication that he has any reservations.
Yeah. So that's my other question.
Yeah.
That you appear to get along with the Prime Minister. You were an early supporter of the Prime Minister.
I would say.
Yeah, before there was any talk even of his becoming BJP's Prime Ministerial candidate.
That's right.
Do you still have that relationship with him?
I have. It's cordial, but I have never asked him to make me a minister, for example. I've never asked him for anything.
Does he seek your advice? Or do you just
very
give
rare, occasionally, and then I put conditions which he's not able to meet.
More to come, including Dr. Swamy's take on Tamil Nadu politics and Shashikala, and why he thinks this government has messed up our China policy. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is the second part of our interview with an unusually candid and, well, reflective Subramanian Swamy. I wanted to ask you about China because that's the other thing people don't realize is that you are actually a China expert, a Chinese
I'm
speaker.
also highly regarded in China.
Yeah, and you're a Chinese speaker. And at a stage when Indians had nothing to do with China, you were an expert on China.
That's right. I did it for Mrs. Gandhi. I protected India from China arming the Assam students.
So what do you think our China policy at the moment is, and where is it going?
I don't know what our China policy is, frankly.
I was hoping you would tell me because I don't know. Nobody seems to know.
No, I don't know. I think it's all ad hoc.
Yeah?
I think, first of all, you cannot have a policy unless there is a political mind applied. And the Prime Minister, it's too much to expect Prime Minister applying his political mind to every country because you need to know the country well. And most of the decisions are being made at the bureaucratic level. And that is bureaucratic decision making are always ad hoc.
There is a suggestion that we are now on worse terms with China. Certainly if you read Chinese state media, there's a fair amount of criticism of India, and that the initiative in the beginning, the Prime Minister welcomed the Chinese leader, has failed. Is that accurate?
Well, 2014, I won't answer your question directly, but I'll give you an incident. I'll answer it in a way you'll understand, I think.
All right.
2014, I got a call from Mr. Amit Shah for a meeting. And I went there and the RSS representative was sitting there. And he said that the Prime Minister is waiting to hear from you because he wants you become the president of the BRICS Bank. And you just please call him and tell him that you're ready. So I said, I will not agree to this. Then I explained the huge amount of salary, tax-free, and all the other lovely things. I don't know, and then he said, I'm a bit surprised, why? I said, first I left Harvard to come to India. And I've since then never accepted a foreign job. I've been, when Boutros Ghali was Secretary General, I could have had any job in the UN. But I did not go to any, nor did I agree to be ambassador. Several times I've been approached for being ambassador. So then he said, but this is something, it's our initiative and we are the first ones to get the presidentship and so on. So I told him in Hindi that China to aapse chida hua hai. Now this is 2015. So he didn't take that seriously. He said, no, it is not so. So I know that the Chinese are much more sentimental than us.
Really?
I think so. They're not cold calculating as people.
As the caricature goes.
They also remember favors done to them when they are down. And in my case, it was that when they were down against the Soviet Union, I persuaded Morarji Desai to be neutral. And they knew it is I who did it.
Yeah.
Because Morarji was anyway anti-Chinese to begin with.
With memories of 62 and all that.
Right. So it was that kind of a miracle. So that's why I was the first one to be invited to China. I think that somewhere the Chinese have a feeling that they got the impression that we would be neutral between China and the United States, but we are not. And that Japanese visit of the Prime Minister made them feel so. But the South Sea Island, we in fact at that stage, we have since then corrected it, but that's just a correction after all. I think the South Sea Island, there was a reference in a way which was not complimentary to the Chinese.
We're talking now, for the benefit of viewers, about islands that are disputed
the Chinese claim as
between China and Japan.
Yeah,
and we made a statement that made it seem
as
as though
we
we
are
were
siding
against
with
the
the
Chinese.
Japanese.
And we were, yeah.
And so then this feeling that we may not be neutral between United States and China.
And are we neutral according to you?
Well, it's a question, neutral means they should have the confidence that if the Chinese and the Americans had a war over their bilateral issue, we not get into it. That confidence has to be instilled.
You think they don't have that confidence?
They don't have the confidence, although we may be neutral, but it's a perception is not that.
So there's a problem.
There is a problem, serious problem.
Okay. Let me now take you far away from China to South India. Your party is now trying to make many inroads into South India, as far as I can see, with not a great deal of success.
If the BJP were to say we are a party of Hindutva and we'll wipe out the Dravidian movement, you will get tremendous success after 3-4 years of hard work. Okay. If you say, I'll get this cinema star.
That's not just the Brahmin in you speaking.
It doesn't matter. There's no. If you behave like a non-Brahmin while being a Brahmin, they'll suspect you even more.
Okay, all right.
It's better to be yourself.
Okay.
And Jayalalitha was a Brahmin. She never hid the fact. The issue is that there is a space for the younger generation to identify themselves with the national outlook.
But you're not saying that. The party is not saying that.
Exactly. That I'm giving you an
You're basically
explanation.
playing factual politics with the
I am
NRDM.
saying precisely that if you go around chasing a cinema star, and that to an illiterate one,
Which one is this? Kamal Hassan or Rajnikant?
All of them are illiterate. I have not met a cinema star who was not literate. Jayalalitha was also not educated, but she was she was forced to go into cinema. But her inclination was to be a scholar.
Yeah.
And she pursued that. These people, this will not get you very far, to be a factotum of these cinema stars.
Should they back Shashikala?
No, Shashikala need not be backed. But Shashikala is better than all these people.
Hang on a minute, you stop it. Shashikala is better than all of these people?
Yes, because she's a woman
This
of
is the
her
woman
word.
who's in jail for corruption.
Yeah, I said her by that, don't forget
Yeah, so
that.
then, and yet
No,
she's
but I
better.
can always have.
How can you have it both ways?
No, listen, there's no black and white in this.
Okay, all right.
She was complicit with Jayalalitha, and I had prosecuted Jayalalitha and still was in an alliance with her because she wanted to fight Karunanidhi. And so
why is she better?
Huh?
Why is she better?
She's better than these other people because she's a person of her word. She can deliver whatever little she has. She has a whole caste group which is a purely Hindutva group, which is called the Tevar community, very fiercely Hindu. I mean, they are natural for us. But instead of that, they've gone...
So given this strategy, do you see much hope for the BJP in the south?
This way, if they continue like this, because the Tamil Nadu unit of the BJP has more or less been reduced to a hospitality center. People from Delhi come, they look after them, put them in good hotels, and then say goodbye to them.
Early in the life of the government, you and I were on the same program, and you said you would wait and watch what the government was doing.
Yes.
And you would watch, particularly along with many of your friends, on Hindutva issues.
Yes.
Do you think the government has done much on Hindutva issues?
I don't need the government anymore. That's the change from the past. On Ram Mandir, there's nothing the government is doing. It's I who's doing it. And I've suffered all kinds of calumnies saying that I'm not a party and I've just got in. And ultimately the Supreme Court gave me a letter that I'm a party. And I produced the only argument, which is unbeatable argument, that we have a fundamental right to worship, and what the Muslims are asking for is a right to property. So therefore, I have done it without the government. I have, of course, the, what shall I say, the admiration, support, help of the RSS. But they more or less have given me free hand to do it. And I've brought it to a stage where I think in the next 4 months will be the case.
So can I just ask you a question that many people watching this program will ask you now? They've not done a very great job in China. The economy could well go into a tailspin. They screwed up demonetization.
Yes.
They haven't implemented the Hindutva agenda.
Yes.
The Tamil Nadu unit of the BJP is basically a hospitality center.
Yes.
How happy are you with the government?
I am happy because, number one, Mr. Modi is still the best amongst them all.
Okay.
And number two, Ms. Sonia Gandhi is terrible.
Okay. So is
And
that
what I saw of her...
You knew her well at one stage.
I knew her well, and I knew how she is Jekyll and Hyde.
Okay. So except for this Modi-Sonia thing, that's the only basis on which...
That's very important, because she is the alternative.
Otherwise, you wouldn't support the government?
No, there is no... Just in life, you cannot go on saying what would happen otherwise. This is a counterfactual history, as they call it.
But look, it does look...
I'm faced with the situation. Are you saying, are you happy with the BJP? Of course I'm happy with the BJP. Do you feel proud of being a BJP member? Of course I'm proud to be a BJP member. But I have views. I'm an educated man. I'm bound to have views. And party workers expect me to tell the truth.
I actually didn't ask you about the BJP. I said, are you happy with the BJP government?
No, why? I mean, the issue is that it's better than the Congress.
And that's it?
No, that's good enough. For me, it's an existential problem.
So
I know what they were trying to do to me, the Congress.
So you're not saying best, you're saying least worst?
Well, that is always so in Kali Yuga. There's no such thing as best. It's always
least worst is all we can hope for?
That's right.
So did some of the things he said take you by surprise? Well, I know, I was certainly taken aback. But then, that's Subramanian Swamy. He is never predictable. We'll see you again next week. Till then, goodbye.